She didn't come to court to explain motherhood. She came to defend it.
A white dress doesn't mean a happy ending. Sometimes it marks the beginning of a war. The guests whispered, first out of curiosity, then out of disbelief. Naomi Carter stood frozen at the front of the church, a vision in ivory lace and trembling hands. Her bouquet shook in her grip, and the silence was so heavy she could hear the breath catch in every throat behind her. The priest stepped forward. His voice was low, final. "I'm sorry, Logan isn't coming." Time stopped. The whispers exploded into noise. Chairs creaked, phones buzzed, a woman gasped aloud. But Naomi didn't hear any of it. Just that sentence. Over and over, like a bell tolling the death of something sacred. She dropped her flowers. They hit the marble floor with a dull thud, like her heart had fallen out of her chest and shattered beside them. She ran, down the aisle past rows of wide eyes and open mouths. Her heels clacked against the stone like gunshots. Her veil dragged behind her like the ghost of every dream she'd ever had about love, family, and forever. Outside, the sky was brutally blue, mocking her. She stopped in the middle of the street, fists clenched, chest heaving. Her best friend Camille chased after her, breathless. "Naomi, wait!" "No," Naomi snapped. "He left. He just left me." Camille opened her mouth, but Naomi was already walking. Fast, furious, humiliated. What no one saw was the black SUV parked across the street. Inside, Logan Whitaker sat in the back seat, head in his hands, phone in his lap, paralyzed. He could still hear his mother's voice from earlier that morning. "If you marry her, I'll cut you off. Everything. No trust fund, no real estate, no legacy. You'll be on your own. And that girl? She's beneath us, Logan. That's not your future." He had chosen silence over courage, cowardice over love, and now he was watching Naomi crumble, alone. And he did nothing. Naomi disappeared that very night. No texts, no social media, no updates. She vanished like a ghost wearing white. She ended up 3 states away, in a town where no one knew her name. She rented a dusty studio apartment above a diner, got a job waiting tables, and avoided mirrors. But grief is a funny thing. Sometimes it grows life in the middle of ruin. 2 months after the wedding that never was, Naomi woke up nauseous. Then it happened again. And again. A pregnancy test confirmed the unthinkable. She wasn't just pregnant. She was carrying 4 children, 4 heartbeats, 4 tiny chances to rewrite her future. She sat in the bathroom, shaking, staring at the stick, whispering, "No, no, no." But the word that finally came out was yes. That night, Naomi made a choice. She would raise her children without Logan, without help, without apologies. She would rise, not for herself, but for the lives growing inside her. 6 years later, Naomi walks into a courtroom. No wedding dress, no tears, just a tailored navy suit and 4 beautiful black boys holding her hands. And at the other end of the courtroom, Logan Whitaker, older, richer, regret burning in his eyes like a fuse. He hasn't seen Naomi since the day he left her at the altar. He doesn't know who she's become, but he's about to find out. Have you ever been left behind and forced to rebuild everything from the ashes? What would you do if the person who abandoned you wanted to reclaim what they once threw away? Stay with this story. The courtroom isn't the end. It's only the beginning. She didn't just survive the storm. She raised 4 hurricanes who now call her Mom. Naomi Carter's mornings began before the sun even dared to rise. By 5 a.m., she was already packing 4 lunch boxes on the kitchen counter of their small but sturdy house. The counters were old, the floors creaked in certain corners, but the love inside those walls made the paint seem fresh. There were shoes by the door, tiny sneakers in 4 different sizes, There were school projects taped crookedly on the fridge. There was a coffee mug by the sink that read, "World's Toughest Mother." It had a crack, but she refused to throw it out. Like herself, it was imperfect, but unbreakable. In the next room, the sound of sleepy yawns and rustling sheets came like a familiar melody. First was Elijah, the eldest by 2 minutes. Smart, sensitive, a walking encyclopedia. He always had a book in hand, even when brushing his teeth. Then came Amari, the quiet one, always holding a sketch pad, his world full of colors no one else could see. Caleb was the joker, the giggler, the loudest and fastest. His energy could light up the block. And finally, Malik, the little leader. Stern face, arms crossed, always organizing the others like a general preparing for battle. Together they were chaos. Together they were her world. Naomi didn't have a village. She built one from scratch. With every shift she worked, every tear she swallowed, every night she stayed up with 4 sick toddlers and no one to call. At work, Naomi moved like precision. The diner she waitressed at wasn't glamorous, but her tips paid for textbooks and backpacks. Her smile was magnetic, her service sharp. Regulars adored her. Strangers respected her. But none of them knew the full weight she carried. After work, she'd pick up the boys from school, help with homework at the kitchen table, reheat leftovers, do laundry at 10:15 p.m., then answer emails for her online business. An Etsy shop where she sold handmade planners and inspirational prints. It wasn't much, but it was hers. She wasn't just surviving. She was building something out of nothing. One Friday afternoon, Naomi stood at the school fence, watching the boys run wild on the playground. That was when the past walked back into her life. A luxury car parked across the street. Out stepped Logan Whitaker, her ex-fiancé, 6 years older, still sharply dressed. But the arrogance? Gone, replaced by something almost unfamiliar. Hesitation. Naomi froze. Her heart pounded like fists on a locked door. She looked at the boys, laughing, chasing, alive, then at him. He saw them, and in an instant his face changed. Recognition, guilt, shock, 1,000 emotions in one blink. He took one step forward. She took one step back. She grabbed the boys, masking her panic with a mother's calm. Elijah, Amari, Caleb, Malik, it's time to go. But Mom, 5 more minutes? No, now. They obeyed. They always obeyed when her voice dipped into that low tone. As they walked away, Naomi didn't look back. But she could feel him watching, like regret given form. She thought it was over. She was wrong. The next morning there was a knock at the door. When she opened it, he was standing there. No ring, no apology. Just, we need to talk. She didn't invite him in. But her son, Elijah, peeked around her leg. Is he our uncle? Naomi didn't answer. And neither did Logan. He just stared at the boy. Then looked back at her. Are they? Naomi cut him off. They're mine. That's all you need to know. And she slammed the door. But deep inside, she knew it was just beginning. That night, after the boys fell asleep, Naomi sat at the dining table, fingers locked, eyes staring at nothing. She didn't ask for this. She didn't want to fight. But if Logan Whitaker thought he could come back into her life, into their lives, without consequence, he clearly hadn't learned who she had become. She wasn't the woman he left behind at the altar. She was a black mother of 4, and she was ready to fight like hell. Do you think someone who walks away from you has the right to walk back into your life like nothing happened? What would you do if the father of your kids returned after 6 years of silence, demanding to be part of the story he once abandoned? Stay with this story. The courtroom awaits, and it has no patience for liars in designer suits. Some doors don't stay closed because they're locked. They stay closed because they've seen too much. 3 days after he appeared at the playground, Logan Whitaker came back. This time, Naomi didn't slam the door. She stepped outside instead, arms crossed, body language sharp as glass. "What do you want, Logan?" "I want to talk. Just talk." Naomi didn't move. "Talk? After 6 years of silence? After leaving me pregnant at the altar like I didn't matter?" Logan nodded, swallowed. "I didn't know. I didn't know you were pregnant." "You didn't know because you disappeared." Her voice cracked, but she didn't look away. "I buried that part of my life. And now you show up? Looking for what exactly? Closure?" He shook his head. "No, I want to know them, the boys." Naomi's jaw tightened. "You don't get to call them the boys. They're not your weekend experiment. They're my sons." "No," she shot back. "They're my sons. I raised them. I fed them, bathed them, held them when they were scared, stayed up when they were sick. You were a ghost." He took a step forward. "But they're mine too, Naomi." She stepped back. "No, biology doesn't make you a father." That night, Naomi thought it was over. She hoped it was. But the next morning, a manila envelope was slid under her door. Inside, legal documents. A petition for shared custody. She stared at it, breath caught in her throat, eyes skimming over the signature. Logan Whitaker versus Naomi Carter. Petitioner requests joint legal and physical custody of minors. Elijah, Amari, Caleb, Malik Carter. Her hands trembled. He wasn't asking. He was taking her to court. At first, Naomi laughed. It was bitter and sharp. "He thinks a judge will hand him my children like a souvenir? Like he's earned the right to claim them now?" But under the laughter was panic. He had money, a legal team, influence. She had love, memory, sacrifice. Would that be enough? She called the one person who never flinched in a fight. Denise Thompson, her former college roommate. Now a sharp-tongued, battle-tested family lawyer. Denise showed up that afternoon with 2 things: a briefcase and fire in her eyes. "Girl," she said, flipping through the paperwork. "He's serious. He's filing for shared custody, supervised visitation during transition, and long-term integration." Naomi's voice shook. "Can he win?" Denise closed the folder. "If you stand still? Yes. But if you fight back, you have every chance." Naomi sat down hard. "I never wanted a custody battle," she said. "I just wanted peace. For them, for me." Denise placed a hand over hers. "Then we'll make that peace loud enough to be heard in court." 2 weeks later, Naomi sat in a courtroom for the preliminary hearing. The courtroom felt colder than she expected. Not because of the air, but because of the eyes. So many strangers waiting to decide what was best for her children. Logan was already seated across the aisle, flanked by 2 lawyers in charcoal suits, and a woman Naomi had never seen before. She was beautiful. Tall, blonde, designer clothes, expensive perfume Naomi could smell from 3 rows away. Denise leaned in. "That's Vanessa Rhodes, his fiancé." Naomi blinked. "Already?" Denise's eyes narrowed. "And she's not just arm candy. She's PR for this whole thing." The hearing began. Logan's team argued first. Mr. Whitaker acknowledges his absence, but asserts he's fully capable of providing financial stability, educational opportunities, and a secure environment. Naomi felt her stomach twist. They made it sound so polished, so clean. Like money was love. Like access was parenting. Then Denise stood, and her words cut through the courtroom like a blade. "Miss Carter has been the sole caretaker of her children since birth. Not out of bitterness, but necessity. She never chased this man for money, never asked for child support, never made her pain public. She simply raised them." She turned to the judge. Now, 6 years later, he returns, uninvited, unprepared, and uninformed, yet demands equal say in the lives of children he's never held? The courtroom stilled. Even Logan looked ashamed. But it wasn't over. The judge cleared his throat. "Due to the significance of this request, I will order a formal custody evaluation. Both homes will be visited. Both parties will be interviewed. This court wants what's best for the children, not what's best for the ego. Naomi walked out of the courthouse, shaken but standing tall. Logan caught up with her outside. "I didn't want it to be this way," he said softly. "Then you shouldn't have filed papers," she snapped. "I just want to be in their lives, Naomi. I missed everything. I'm trying." She looked him dead in the eyes. "Trying? You're trying now? After 6 birthdays, 6 first days of school, 6 Christmas mornings I spent holding them through tears? Trying isn't enough." He reached for her arm. She stepped back. "This isn't about you anymore, Logan. You lost that right the day you left me in white." She turned, walked away. The wind blew through the city, sharp and cold. But Naomi didn't shiver. She had walked through worse. And now, she was walking into war. Can someone who abandoned their family rewrite the script and call themselves a parent again? Would you trust them? Or fight for everything they once threw away? Next, Naomi prepares for battle, and an unexpected ally enters the courtroom. You can't take children from the woman who taught them how to fight hunger with bedtime stories. Naomi Carter sat in silence, staring at the folded custody papers on her kitchen table. The house was unusually quiet. Too quiet. In the next room, her 4 sons were playing video games, giggling over nothing. But inside Naomi, everything felt like it was breaking apart. Slowly, deliberately. The same hands that once held newborns now trembled over legal ink. She had survived a wedding dress soaked in tears, a pregnancy filled with fear, and 6 years of single motherhood in a world that wasn't built for her. But this felt different. This wasn't heartbreak, this was war. And Logan Whitaker hadn't just filed a petition. He'd declared he was ready to erase the years she bled for their sons. Later that night, Naomi stood in the bathroom, clutching the edge of the sink. She barely recognized the reflection staring back. Not because she looked weak, but because she looked angry. And behind that anger was something more dangerous. Resolve. She didn't cry. Not this time. She picked up her phone and dialed. "Denise, we need to go all in." The following week was brutal. The court-appointed custody evaluator showed up with a clipboard and polite questions. Naomi's home was spotless. The boys were respectful, well-spoken, and joyfully chaotic in a way that proved one thing. They were raised with love. The evaluator smiled, nodded, scribbled notes. But Naomi saw the flicker in her eyes. The one that said, "I've been to mansions. I've seen pools and playrooms." And Naomi knew what was coming next. A few days later, the whispers started. It began at the boys' school. A teacher pulled Naomi aside. "Some parents, they've heard things. About you, about the case." She tried to smile, but her stomach dropped. Then came the emails. The phone calls. The passive-aggressive comments from strangers at the diner. Somehow, her story had leaked, and the headlines weren't kind. Millionaire father fights for custody of 4 sons after long-lost mother refuses contact. Black single mom blocks father's rights in messy custody battle. Logan's new fiancé, Vanessa Rhodes, had activated the media machine. And Naomi? She was painted as unstable, secretive, spiteful. Denise was furious. "She's trying to break you before the trial even starts." Naomi didn't flinch. She won't. But inside, Naomi felt the pressure closing in. Every move she made was under surveillance. Every school pickup, every late-night grocery run. She could feel eyes on her. She had never felt more alone, until the knock at the door. She opened it and froze. Gloria Freeman, the woman who used to run the Whitaker estate like a fortress, their former housekeeper. Someone Naomi hadn't seen since the week before the wedding that never happened. Gloria looked older now, slower, but her eyes? Still fire. "May I come in?" Naomi stepped aside. They sat in the living room, the boys upstairs, the storm between them still unsaid. Then Gloria spoke. "I know what they did to you." Naomi blinked. "Excuse me?" "Catherine, Logan's mother, Vanessa. I saw everything. I heard what they planned, how they convinced him to leave. And now they want to paint you as the villain?" Naomi stared. "I can testify," Gloria said. "But why now?" Naomi asked. "Why speak up after all these years?" Gloria looked down, because I was complicit in my silence, and I watched the only decent woman who ever loved that boy get destroyed. She looked up. "I'm done being silent." That night, Naomi cried for the first time in days, but not because she was scared, because someone finally said out loud what she had carried for 6 years. She wasn't crazy, she wasn't difficult, she was targeted, and she had survived anyway. At school the next day, Elijah, her oldest, handed her a drawing. It was him, his brothers, and her. Above them, in block letters, "My mom is stronger than any dad." Naomi swallowed the lump in her throat. She kissed his forehead. "I'm proud of you," she said. He smiled. "I'm proud of you too." That night, Naomi pulled out a box from the closet. Inside, letters she had written to the boys when they were newborns, hospital bracelets, a photo of her in the diner uniform, 8 months pregnant, diapers she had kept from the twins' first weeks. Evidence, not for the courtroom, for herself, to remember that no matter what Logan threw at her, she had already done the impossible. When someone rich controls the narrative, the truth often gets buried. But Naomi's not here to explain her motherhood. She's here to defend it. The worst betrayal doesn't come from the one who leaves. It comes from the ones who planned it. The courtroom lights buzzed softly overhead. Naomi sat still, her heart pounding like a drum in a funeral march. Her eyes weren't on Logan. They were on the door. Denise had told her, "The moment this person walks in, everything changes." The bailiff opened the door, and Gloria Freeman stepped inside. Some people in the gallery murmured. A few recognized her name from old news articles about the Whitaker estate. Most just saw an elderly black woman in a navy coat and cane. But Naomi saw something else. The ghost of everything they tried to bury. The judge nodded. "Ms. Freeman, please take the stand." Denise rose. "Your Honor, we call Gloria Freeman as a witness to the events leading up to the dissolution of the engagement between Mr. Whitaker and Ms. Carter 6 years ago." Logan stiffened in his seat. Vanessa, sitting next to him, crossed her legs too tightly. Gloria adjusted the microphone. "I worked for the Whitaker family for 21 years. I was there the day Logan proposed. I was there when Naomi first came to the house, and I was there the day it all ended." She took a breath. Catherine Whitaker, Logan's mother, never approved of Naomi. She said she was too different, that she came from the wrong stock. Naomi closed her eyes. She had always suspected it. But hearing it out loud, Gloria continued. "They didn't just oppose the marriage. They orchestrated its destruction." Flashback 6 years earlier. Gloria walked past the Whitaker sunroom. Inside, Catherine and Vanessa Rhodes were whispering. "She's emotional," Catherine said. "He needs stability, not passion." "He's not thinking clearly," Vanessa added, sipping wine. "We have to get through to him." Catherine leaned forward. "He trusts me. I'll give him a choice. Her, or everything he's ever known." Vanessa smiled. "Then you make the call, and I'll be here when she's gone." Back to present. Gasps filled the courtroom. Gloria didn't flinch. "I heard Catherine threaten to cut Logan off financially. I watched her pressure him until he cracked. And Vanessa, she was always there, behind the curtain, whispering just loud enough to be heard." She looked directly at Logan. "You were scared, but you let fear become betrayal." Logan looked like someone had punched the wind out of him. Vanessa stood abruptly. "This is slander." The judge slammed his gavel. "You will sit, or you will be removed." Vanessa sat, lips pressed into a silent scream. Denise stepped forward. "Ms. Freeman, why come forward now?" Gloria's voice softened. "Because Naomi was the only woman who loved that boy for who he was, not for his last name. And I couldn't live with myself knowing she raised 4 children alone while the world thought she was the problem." Outside the courthouse, the media circled like hawks. But for once, the headlines didn't belong to Logan. They belonged to the truth. Family Insider exposes Whitaker family plot to sabotage interracial engagement. Housekeeper confirms racial bias and power abuse in custody battle scandal. Denise grabbed every outlet. She told the story like a wildfire. Not to destroy Logan, but to destroy the silence that protected the ones who pulled his strings. That night, Naomi sat in bed with her boys curled up beside her. They had no idea what had happened in court. But she did, and for the first time since the custody papers arrived, she allowed herself to breathe. Not because it was over, but because the shadows were finally speaking. Meanwhile, Logan stood alone in his penthouse. Vanessa stormed out earlier, slamming the door so hard it cracked a frame. He stared at his reflection. Not the clothes, not the status, just the man who had once walked away from love. And now couldn't stop it from walking away from him. Have you ever learned the truth too late? What would you do if the life you chose was built on a lie someone else whispered into your ear? Don't mistake silence for weakness. Some mothers are quiet because they're loading ammunition. The morning after Gloria's testimony, Naomi Carter stood in the middle of her modest kitchen, staring at a calendar. 3 days. That's all that stood between her and the final custody hearing. The boys were still asleep upstairs. The sun hadn't even broken the sky yet. But Naomi was already moving. She wasn't just preparing for court. She was preparing for war. At 7 o'clock a.m., she met with Denise in a corner booth of a downtown diner. Legal pads, laptops, a giant folder labeled exposure. Denise didn't even sip her coffee. Okay, you ready to burn this to the ground? Naomi gave her a calm, unflinching nod. Over the next 48 hours, Naomi built what Denise would later call a fortress of facts and fire. She pulled school records, attendance logs, pediatric notes, letters from teachers, doctors, and neighbors. She printed emails showing her rejection of Logan's financial offers in the past. She found video clips, birthdays, school plays, soccer games, all missing one thing: Logan. She even included a handwritten letter from each of the boys, unscripted, honest, filled with crayons and heart-shaped S's. Naomi also did something she hadn't done in 6 years. She called her father. They hadn't spoken since she fled after the wedding. Shame had burned that bridge. But now she needed to make peace with her past. "Dad," she said, voice shaking. "I need you to come to court." There was silence. Then his voice, warm but aged. "I'll be there. I've been waiting to hear your voice for 6 years, baby girl." Meanwhile, Logan's side was fracturing. The media blitz had backfired. Public opinion turned quickly after Gloria's testimony. Vanessa Rhodes was nowhere to be found. Rumor had it she had fled the country to avoid subpoenas in a separate scandal. Logan didn't deny it. He stopped appearing on magazine covers, and for the first time in his life, Logan Whitaker looked like a man standing alone. The night before the hearing, Naomi cooked her son's favorite dinner: mac and cheese, cornbread, honey-roasted carrots. They laughed at the table, told jokes, wore matching pajamas. After they were asleep, Naomi sat in their room, watching them breathe. Then she whispered, so soft even the night had to lean in to hear, "You are not pawns. You are not leverage. You are loved. You are safe. And I will fight every system, every person, and every lie to keep it that way." The next morning, Naomi dressed with quiet precision. No flashy colors, no dramatics. Just a deep forest green blazer, a subtle gold necklace, and a pair of heels that clicked like authority down every hallway. She didn't wear war paint. She wore truth. Outside the courthouse, reporters waited. Some called her name. She didn't stop, didn't wave. This wasn't for headlines. This was for Elijah, Amari, Caleb, Malik. Inside, she sat beside Denise. Across the room, Logan arrived late. His suit was rumpled, his tie crooked. But what Naomi noticed most was the way he looked at her. Not like an enemy, not even like an ex, but like a man who finally realized the weight of what he'd lost. The judge entered. Silence fell. Today, we hear final statements from both parties before ruling on custody. Denise leaned in, whispered, "You ready?" Naomi didn't blink. "Let's finish this. There's nothing more dangerous than a mother who's had enough. Tomorrow is Judgment Day, and Naomi's not coming to ask. She's coming to claim. Facts can be bent, emotions can be faked, but a mother on the witness stand? She brings the storm." The final hearing began with no introductions. The courtroom wasn't curious anymore. It was hungry. Hungry for truth, for blood, for someone to finally say what everyone was thinking. The judge called first. "Mr. Logan Whitaker, please take the stand." Logan adjusted his tie. He looked smaller than usual, not because he had lost weight, but because he had lost certainty. Denise leaned toward Naomi. "Stay calm. Let him bury himself." Naomi nodded, her face unreadable. Logan was sworn in. His lawyer began. "Mr. Whitaker, could you explain to the court why you feel you should be granted shared custody?" Logan cleared his throat. "Because they're my sons. I missed 6 years, yes. But I've changed. I've taken steps, I've shown up, I've invested in their lives." The lawyer nodded. "Do you love them?" "Yes." "Do you believe Ms. Carter is unfit?" Logan hesitated. "No, she's done more than I can describe. But I still want to be part of their future." Denise stood. Time to cut deep. "Mr. Whitaker," she began, "how many of your son's birthdays have you attended?" "None." "How many school events?" "None." "Doctor visits?" "No." She approached the bench slowly. "Can you name their favorite meals?" Silence. "Their allergies?" "I don't know." "Their bedtime routine?" "No." Denise tilted her head. "But you want legal say over where they live, how they're raised, and what they need, when you don't even know what makes them cry?" Logan's jaw clenched. "That's why I'm here, to learn." "To learn?" Denise repeated. "Sir, they are not your classroom." The judge lifted a hand. "Thank you. Ms. Carter, please take the stand." Naomi rose. The courtroom shifted. Reporters leaned forward. Even the court reporter stopped typing for a split second. "She was sworn in." Denise began softly. "Naomi, tell the court what the last 6 years have been like." Naomi looked at the judge, not Logan. "I didn't plan on being a single mother, but when I became one, I decided I'd never let my sons feel abandoned, not even for a second." Her voice shook, but her spine did not. "I worked 3 jobs. I taught myself how to file taxes, how to unclog sinks, how to fix a busted heater at midnight. I missed sleep, missed meals, missed entire pieces of myself, to give them everything." Denise handed her a piece of paper. "Do you recognize this?" Naomi smiled faintly. "It's Elijah's first drawing of our house. There's no dad, just me and his brothers." Denise turned to the judge. "We're not just talking about a biological link. We're talking about daily life, lived sacrifice, and emotional roots." The judge folded his hands. "And if Mr. Whitaker is granted custody, how will it affect your family?" Naomi's voice dropped. "My children will be torn between comfort and confusion, between someone who fed them every day and someone who walked in late with gifts and guilt." She glanced at Logan. "I'm not here to punish him. I'm here to protect them." Silence. Then, unexpectedly, Logan stood up. "Your Honor, may I speak directly?" The judge blinked. "Proceed." Logan turned to Naomi. "I believed what I was told. That marrying you would destroy everything I'd worked for. That you weren't enough. I was weak. I let my mother control my decisions. I let Vanessa whisper doubts into my ear." He took a breath. "But watching you raise them without bitterness, watching our sons laugh with you and grow with you and become because of you, I finally understood what real strength looks like." The room held its breath. "I don't want to take them from you, Naomi. I want to deserve a chance to know them." The judge called for recess. Naomi left the courtroom slowly. As she walked past Logan, she stopped. "Wanting to be a father is noble, but being one takes more than DNA and declarations." She looked him in the eyes. "You left me in white. They don't need another man in a suit. They need someone who shows up when there's no camera, no court order, just chaos and homework and peanut butter on the ceiling. She walked away. He didn't follow. Would you forgive the person who left you behind if they finally came back, asking to stay? And if you were Naomi, would that ever be enough? Justice isn't just the gavel. It's the quiet sigh of a mother who finally doesn't have to fight anymore. The courtroom was packed. Every seat filled. Every camera lens aimed. Every breath held. The judge entered, his robe trailing like the weight of all the words spoken in that room. Naomi sat tall in her seat. Her fingers curled tightly around a tissue she hadn't needed yet. Logan sat across the aisle, alone. Vanessa had disappeared. His legal team was down to one. And yet for the first time, he didn't seem weak. Just real! The judge adjusted his glasses, looked out across the sea of quiet. This court has heard arguments from both sides. It has reviewed documentation, interviewed children, assessed environments, and weighed intention. A pause. In custody cases, we are not here to punish parents. We are here to protect children. Naomi held her breath. The judge looked directly at her. Miss Carter, you have demonstrated a level of sacrifice, consistency, and emotional presence that no court can ignore. He turned to Logan. Mr. Whitaker, your growth is noted. Your late involvement is acknowledged, but it does not override years of absence. Then the verdict. Primary custody is awarded to Miss Naomi Carter. Mr. Whitaker will have structured visitation rights and must attend parenting sessions before any increase is considered. The courtroom murmured. But Naomi heard nothing, only the soft sound of her own exhale, the kind that only comes when a mountain finally moves. She looked at Denise. Denise smiled, a small, proud warrior's smile. Outside the courthouse, reporters crowded around. Naomi didn't stop to speak. She had said everything she needed to in that courtroom. That evening, she picked the boys up from school. They ran into her arms like usual. Messy backpacks, open lunchboxes, a crumpled math quiz with a big red A+. Mama, did we win? Elijah asked. Naomi knelt down. We didn't win, baby. We just kept what we already had. The weeks that followed weren't quiet, but they were kind. Logan began attending his required sessions. He didn't complain, didn't push. He showed up when allowed, listened more than he spoke, and never once said, "But I'm their father." He earned trust slowly. One pickup at a time, one puzzle at a time, one apology at a time. Naomi watched it all, not with suspicion, but with the wary grace of a woman who had seen too much, and still hoped. Then one Sunday afternoon, everything changed. It was just after dinner. The boys were in the backyard, chasing bubbles. Logan showed up with a box in hand. "Just some old photos," he said. But when Naomi opened it, she froze. Inside was a folder. Documents, a signed trust agreement, educational funds, insurance, a letter naming her full guardian on all accounts. And underneath that, a small velvet box. Logan spoke before she could. "I know what I've done can't be undone, and I'm not here to fix the past. But I'd like to be part of the future, if you'll let me." He opened the box. Inside was a simple ring. Nothing flashy, just real. "Naomi, I'm not asking you to forget. I'm asking you to believe I've changed. And if you can't say yes today, I'll wait. I'll wait as long as it takes." Naomi looked at him, then at the boys in the yard, then back at the man who once left her in a dress she never got to wear. She closed the box gently. "Not today, Logan." He nodded. "I understand. But maybe one day," she added, "if you keep showing up, I'll walk to you this time." The next morning, Naomi made breakfast. 4 plates, 4 glasses of milk, and 1 extra plate, just in case. The boys laughed at the table, the house filled with noise and peanut butter on the counter. And for once, she didn't feel like she had to be perfect. She just had to be present. That weekend, Elijah handed her a new drawing. It was a picture of a house, In it, 4 boys, 1 mom, 1 dad standing at the door, and a banner that said, "Welcome home." Can you rebuild what was once broken beyond repair? Or does healing mean writing a brand new chapter, with the same characters, but a different ending? This story isn't about fairy tales. It's about redemption that takes years, not moments. About mothers who never stopped showing up, and fathers who finally learned how to